Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Talking with Heroes talk show program. It's talkingwithheroes.com, and thank you for your service.us. We're here at USAA in San Antonio, Texas. I want to thank everybody at USAA that made it possible for us to do the video episodes we'll be doing here. And to start out, we're here with two Army veterans, Nicholas Armstrong, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Bosnia veteran, with Syracuse University's Institute for National Security and Counterterrorism as an IVMF Fellow, and also Army veteran J.J. Montanaro here with USAA. So thank you for taking the time to talk to the American people here with us. Nick, if you want to start.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me today here, Bob. Of course, I'm an Army veteran. I served on active duty for 7 years. 3 deployments with the 10th Mountain Division in the Balkans, Iraq and Afghanistan. Left the service in 2007 to head back to graduate school, thinking I'd be at Syracuse University for a year. And that turned out into a decade where I first fell in with a policy institute there focused on national security and counterterrorism, and then joined a rapidly growing organization called the Institute for Veterans and Military Families, where I now head up the research and evaluation team there. So it's been a great ride.
Great.
Really, Bob, what Nick said is he couldn't get away from the cold, so just being here in San Antonio is crushing his day.
Yeah, definitely a big difference, that's for sure.
Yeah, thawing out for a January day like this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But he did ask if we could extend the interview.
Okay.
But my name is J.J. Montanaro. I'm actually a financial planner here at USAA, but my job is on the military advocacy team in military affairs. So what I focus on is financial readiness, whether it's doing interviews, writing articles, doing events. So everything I do is focused around financial readiness. As far as my time in the Army, I spent about 6 years on active duty. The rest was in the Army Reserve. I did have one tour to Afghanistan. But what I love about my job is it is truly about advocacy and really shines a light on all the good stuff that USAA does for our members to try to help them secure their financial future. And that's why I get to be here with Nick, because this last paper is about transition and about finances.
That's right.
One of the things I'm enjoying about being with y'all is I've been working with R4 Alliance now for 2 years and watching all the collaborating that's happening around the country with companies, nonprofits, and that's what you're both doing, right? Talk a little bit about that collaboration and working together.
Absolutely. So we've had the great fortune of working with USAA for the last really several years, but on this research in particular over the last 18 months or so, really focusing around the idea of workforce readiness. J.J. brought up the idea of transition and helping our servicemen and women as they transition into their next stage, their next career, putting things in place on the employer side, preparing them to be workforce ready for certain positions and obviously financially ready too. So we've had a series of 4 papers over the last year that we put out on these topics and things that employers can take advantage of around helping veterans excel in the workforce and ensuring retention, and also helping the veterans on their side in terms of being financially ready and having the wherewithal to be able to go after and pursue their dreams, their next career, et cetera.
Yeah, in the military advocacy arena at USAA, we look at supporting spouses, veteran hiring, and financial readiness as kind of the 3 chairs or 3 what are they? Legs on the chair. Yeah. The 3 legs of the chair. And so when we have an opportunity to partner with IVMF or organizations like that, for us, it's really about the opportunity to help somebody who is helping the military community. And this is really a great example of that.
Yep. You talked about the paper.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about what is the paper?
So the paper is really about transitioning. It's really about financial flexibility is the core topic of the paper. We call it Pathways to Opportunity, but it's the idea of ensuring that transitioning service members need to be prepared for that transition. Transition's stressful regardless. I can't really, for those who've transitioned, I haven't really found someone who didn't have experience some type of stress. It's a new environment, you're transitioning to a new career, you're potentially moving with your family. Financial stress can add to that. So the paper itself is about the broad message there is being able to prepare in advance build buffers like savings and other things that can allow you the flexibility and the freedom to make different choices. Choices of going back to school and retooling yourself around a certification in a new industry or things like that.
I mean, I think one of the things that stood out to me, Nick, was just the idea that the paper poses transition as a process as opposed to an event. And so I have a son who's a paratrooper in Alaska right now, and one of the things I was trying to give him guidance as he embarked on that journey, and I was telling him, hey, you need to look forward. Try to plan forward, because one of the things I always found myself doing in the military, and I don't know about you, Nick, but everything was counting down. How many days before this deployment was over? How much longer until we were out of the field?
That's right.
And so deployment in that mindset becomes, okay, I got there. I'm ready to get out. And the reality is, if that's how you approach deployment, as the paper points out, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, because it truly is a beginning and it's a process as opposed to an end.
That's right. I mean, I can even, from experience, when you're preparing to get out, you're kind of tend to have that attitude. Well, I'll figure it out then. I've still got a mission to focus on here. But really, this is about ensuring you're prepared to have that, to experience that transition in a way that allows you to have the freedom to go after different avenues. There's a lot of, we take advantage, or we take for granted a lot of the different assets that we have in the military. So we typically are paid better than our civilian counterparts. All of the different supplemental benefits that we have, healthcare,
yeah.
Life insurance. Outside of those who are actually retiring, which I think is about 17% actually retire. So the bulk of the force that's getting out will lose some of those benefits. And so it's important to be planning ahead and being able to build yourself that buffer to be able to.
Yeah, and one of the big buffers that the paper really focuses on is the idea of having a big chunk of cash when you transition, because that's going to ultimately provide flexibility, whether it's flexibility to wait and pick the right job you want, flexibility to take advantage of the educational opportunities that you might have. But having cash is a big deal, and at USAA, we talk about 6 to 12 months worth of expenses to sustain you during that period. Well, that doesn't happen if you start thinking about it when you get ready to leave the military, or frankly, if you think about it 2 or 6 months in advance.
That's
it
right.
almost has to begin when you join the military.
When you start, yeah. And the alternatives, if you are unprepared, you and your family are really stuck at taking the first opportunity that comes your way. Whereas having that buffer gives you the ability to start to scan the work environment, scan the educational environment, and be able to be a little bit choosier with respect to where you want to go, where that opportunity might lie. I think that's important, because everything's path dependent. You take that first job and, you may lose out on the opportunities. That's the one opportunity, I think, where you have other assets like the GI Bill. Tremendous. It's probably the best asset that folks have when they leave the military, and being able to afford the opportunity to go somewhere for school for free. So.
But you've got to do it with an end in mind. So if you're just going to school, are you really getting what you need out of it?
Right.
Instead, hey, what's my plan for education? What is it I want to do? How does that translate financially, so you don't squander that beautiful opportunity?
That's right. Another big piece of the paper, too, is the idea around spouse employment. Ensuring spouses are employed and whether they have meaningful careers actually is an added buffer that allows you to have the flexibility to go off and get a degree or get a certification. So that's another important aspect, I think, of thinking about transition as a process.
And I think that's just it, the idea of having a plan. I mean, throughout our time in the military, there was a plan, whether we were going to pick up garbage along, do police call along the avenue, or whatever it was, there was always a plan, and it may have been an 8-page op order. And we're talking about something here that is much more impactful and important to us individually, so we ought to have a plan for how we're going to attack it.
That's right.
I remember last year I was talking to Mike Kelly at your military advocacy group, and I had
I don't
realized...
know him. Mike Kelly?
Yeah.
Oh, my boss, okay.
Oh, is he your boss? I'm sorry. But he was
Don't
talking...
say anything mean.
I didn't realize how many veterans you hire at USAA. You have a lot of veterans working for USAA, right?
Yeah, it's the hiring target, I think, is around 30%. And between veterans and military spouses, typically we're between 25 and 30%. But the thing is, when people call USAA, for the most part, the experience they have, or they leave that call thinking, you know what, there must be 95% ex-military or separated military or retired there because they know what it means to serve. But that's a part of the process in terms of when people come in, they get to training and they get MREs and they get a little bit of a baptism in terms of what it means to serve, so that when they do have those calls, they're meaningful and they really empathize with the members they talk to.
Sure. Could you talk a little bit about IVMF? Because I've been hearing a lot about IVMF.
Sure.
Just a little.
Just a little bit.
Well, a lot.
Yeah. I could talk for days. So,
Okay.
Institute for Veterans and Military Families is higher education's first interdisciplinary institute focusing on advancing the lives of veterans and their families, and we do that through career and vocational advancement programs, educational programs around small business ownership, and we also help communities in that effort by providing technical assistance to those. We also do research, so we do research that helps inform the work that we do on the ground, and that's I like to call us an action tank because we're doers, we're out in the field, but we're also not your typical academic institute because we're doing research that directly informs that work. So it's an exciting place to work. Is that short enough?
Yeah, that was good. You did good.
Yeah, it didn't take a couple days.
He just wanted me to talk a little bit. But I think I like the action word because when you look at the paper, for example, if people are looking for resources in terms of, hey, where can I go to get help, or whether it has to do with finances or some of the insights that are there, there's a couple pages of resources that veterans or service members can take advantage. There's a lot of references. So I think it does become something somebody can pick up, take, read, hopefully heed in terms of the advice that's there, but also know that there's a lot of resources available.
That's right. We take pride in our research of being actionable.
So talk about the benefits of collaborating, because here we have two organizations that you're doing a lot together.
Well, this is one example of a collaboration, but I think you see it all across the veterans space today. Some other research that we've done focusing on veterans transitioning into higher education shows that, you'd think we asked them a laundry list of issues they may have in their transition, and you'd think that, finding a job, finances would be number one. Is actually navigating the sea of goodwill of all these different benefits and programs. And so, we also know from research that when veterans may have problems in their transition, it's not just I have a job or I need a job or I need access to health care. It's typically a combination of different needs. And so, one organization can't do it all. And that's why it's important to be able to collaborate to provide that continuum of care and support that our family service members and veterans and their families need.
Yeah. Why don't you give our listeners, people that are watching, your website addresses, how they contact you, find out more.
Sure. We're at ivmf.syracuse, all one word, .edu.
And we're at USAA.com.
Great. Well, I appreciate you being on today. Before I close programs, I always like to, for us all, to give a shout out to our troops. We have so many men and women deployed right now in many countries. So why don't you...
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, I just want to say thanks to all the servicemen and women, their families. Thank you for your service, and God bless.
And all I can do is echo that. Thank you for your service and for the service of your families and all that you give and sacrifice so that we can do all we do on a daily basis. So thank you.
And I also want to give a shout out too, and we look forward to you all coming home safe, back to your families. And so I want to thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bob.
I appreciate being able to be here at USAA. And folks, if you like what you hear, please share. If you're on Twitter, tweet, on any other social media, especially send this out to veterans and military spouses, military families. So I want to thank you all. Thank you again, USA. And we'll be back with more on TalkingWithHeroes.com here at USAA.